everyone relax. This is TOFOP. I'm Charlie Clausen.
I'm Will Anderson. Hello, and thank you for watching.
This is our third attempt to start the show because technical issues. We haven't had those in a while since we've got all slick studio TOFOP.
I know.
It wasn't our fault this time.
For once.
For once.
I mean, maybe it was. We don't even know if it wasn't our fault.
We think Mike's just been polite. It's like,
Nah.
what is that groan mean? Nah. Yeah, you guys are right. Nah, you're fine.
Nah.
You guys are fine. You guys are fine.
What's going on in this episode?
I wanted to, and this is such a, like, we're going to get real niche.
Okay.
Because, and you've probably maybe already covered some of this stuff in your other job for Gruen.
Oh.
But someone reminded me of like an old ad in the 80s that used to be like everywhere.
Okay.
Mike, can you play the music from the Flake ad?
No other chocolate
Does this ring a bell?
looks like Flake looks.
No other chocolate tastes like Flake tastes.
With a cup of Cadbury's Dairy Milk.
Oh.
Feel it crumble and melt in your mouth. No other chocolate does it too
Like Flake does. Created like no other chocolate.
Oh, yeah, I do remember
Right.
that. Yeah.
So someone reminded me of that ad, and I watched
Where
it.
that woman is blowing the chocolate bar.
Yes. Hey, the ad is very sexual.
So sexual.
Like it's all like the Great Gatsby. It's like soft focus. She's in this like beautiful white dress under a tree, and there's this like handsome man observing her from the porch or whatever. Yeah. So sexual innuendo line,
Yes.
like just the quality of that
the advertisement.
jingle.
Oh, the jingle, yes.
Like the vocals, the production of it.
Yeah.
Like it's a good song.
Jingles have gone out of fashion in television advertising in particular.
And-
like radio advertising, you still hear a jingle.
Yeah.
But television advertising, not so much.
But even when you hear jingles now, it feels like jingles now are designed to be like catchy and memorable, funny. Like it's not like an earnest attempt to write a good track. Whereas when you hear that song, it's like, that sounds like good musicians, good vocalists. And you know it works because there is one line in it which shouldn't make any sense. But Mike, just play that grab,
Feel
the
it crumble
extraction.
and melt in your mouth.
Like, feel it crumble and
Feel it
Melts in your
crumble
mouth,
and melt in your mouth.
like that could be Fleetwood Mac.
Feel it crumble and melt in your mouth.
I just couldn't get over because as a kid, like you just sort of ignore it. But then when someone sort of brought my attention to it, I'm like, yeah, that is clearly a trained singer. And I can just imagine her in the recording session and the producer being like, all right, we'll just go for a second take. Feel it crumble,
and melt in
really?
your mouth.
Yeah.
Okay, that's pretty good. I'm not quite feeling it. I want a bit more on the crumble. Go.
Feel it crumble and melt in your mouth.
I mean, do you feel it crumble? So in that line.
Flakes, by the way, don't exist anymore.
What?
Because after
Shut up. That's not true.
Well, after I went on this deep dive, I was like, I want to go eat a flake. I could not find a flake. I went to 3 different shops and couldn't find flakes.
Like, I find that hard to believe.
Mike, can you just Google, does flakes still exist? Has Cadbury's flake?
Has Twirl taken over from Flake?
Has supplanted it.
Because
as the premier flaky chocolate.
Yeah, because
Yes, Cadbury Flake chocolate bars are still available. However, there have been shortages in the past due to supply chain issues and high demand.
Because that fucking ad, because people are desperate to feel like crumble and melt in their mouth.
So I think the Twirl is the
next gen flake.
Yeah, because it's got the outside that protects you, holds it together. The flake was always too messy.
Yeah, you get little crumbs.
And you had to like eat the crumbs out of the foil of the flake.
But that was kind of the fun, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Or you stick a flake into an ice cream.
Loved a flake.
Yeah.
I reckon that would have been when I was growing up. My mum's favourite like treat chocolate was a flake.
The other line that confuses me is like, what is the something of Cadbury's Dairy Milk? Is it a cup of Cadbury's? Because Cadbury
cup and a half of Dairy's milk in every 200 gram block of Dairy milk.
Mike, can you just play the whole thing again? I just want to hear what they say, how much dairy milk there is in it.
Chocolate looks like
oh yeah, looks like no other chocolate looks. Yeah, that's true.
no other
chocolate tastes like Flake tastes.
What is it? Full of barnful? That's what I'm hearing.
Isn't it just full of? We'll go again. We'll have to go again.
Say again?
That's that last bit.
Play it again, Mike.
Like
What is it? Full of bunful? I'm hearing full of bunful Cadbury's Dairy Milk.
What the chocolate tastes like full of Cadbury Dairy Milk.
What is it?
I think it's just full of.
There's an extra word.
It's just there's a little. But is it just a little riff? Is it like full of? Like is it
full of Cadbury? Is that what they're saying? It's full of Cadbury's Dairy
something.
Milk. Play it again one more time.
Just before full of Cadbury's Dairy Milk, there's a little like
Yes.
full of.
What is it?
That's the bit.
Full of love
I don't know.
and
Here we go.
Cadbury.
Yeah.
Oh, what is it? Full of love and Cadbury's Dairy's Milk? No, that's gross.
No.
No other chocolate tastes like full of Cadbury Dairy Milk.
Feel it crumble and
What's he
melt in your
saying?
mouth.
Does it just say full of?
Full of Cadbury's Dairy Milk. Why would they say full of twice?
I mean, just as a bit of a.
But the glass and a half was Cadbury's thing, right? Why is it so? Like a glass and a half. So for people who don't know what that voice was, their spokesman in the 80s was a professor who would talk about how they had a glass and a half of full cream
dairy milk in every 200 gram block.
That's right. But they're not saying that there, and I don't know what they're saying. Fluffer cat. Fill up. Fill your bum with Cadbury's Dairy Milk. Fill your bum with Cadbury's Dairy Milk.
It would fit. I mean, it'd be easier to get a twirl in there than it would to get a flake
Yeah, it'd be
in
crumbling
just with,
everywhere.
Yeah.
What do you think it is, Mike? Fill a bar
I can't
with
tell. I can't tell. It sounds like they're trying to say something. Full of
full of bars of Cadbury's Dairy Milk. It sounds like fill a bar. Full of bar, a fuller bar. Could it be like a full bar of chocolate? A fuller bar of Cadbury's Dairy Milk.
Oh man, there's I found the little Facebook page with the ad on it, and I'm looking at all the
lyrics, lyric breakdowns.
No, I'm looking at because there's no lyrics there, but this is on the page, and it's like my favorite chocolate bar, and I was a teenager when this came out. Oh my god, I remember this ad. Lots of great comments here. Oh, this brings back memories. I remember this ad. Oh, I love this ad as a little girl. I remember this ad. Well, thanks, guys. You really helped me
Adding to
out
the
here.
conversation.
Great memories.
Hey, but Mike, doesn't YouTube automatically caption something? What do they say it is? Can you?
I mean, they won't know though. That'll just be AI rubbish.
Yeah, I'll have a look.
Okay.
Okay.
In the meantime, are you able to play the other audio? Because it got me. I went down a rabbit hole of like jingles from old ads, and then that got me onto this one. Will.
Tastes so good with the flavor.
So good.
Tastes so good in a cover.
So good.
Tastes so good on your cereal.
So good is the reason why. So good is so good.
No cholesterol, no lactose, packed with calcium too.
Sanitarium, a better life through better nutrition.
Now, do you know my favourite line of that song?
Yeah. What?
Play it, Mike.
No cholesterol, no lactose.
Like
No cholesterol, no lactose.
Can you
Take it to
imagine?
the fridge.
You studied at some conservatory.
Yeah.
You're like one of the best singers in the world. They bring you in like, what do you need me to sing? My God's gift to me is my voice.
My
What
voice is my
words
instrument.
do you
What do you
need
want me
me
to say? What do you
No lactose. Like my challenge to any TOFOP listeners
Yes.
out there, if you can take either feel it crumble and melt in your mouth or no cholesterol, no lactose and work it into a different context.
Oh, great.
Don't have to be a whole song.
Yes.
But but do it in a legitimate, do it as a folk song, heavy metal, hip hop. If you can somehow work that into a song and send it into us and make it work, you win a prize. And that prize is
Stanley Keep Cup.
So good. Oh, Stan.
no, we're gonna
Will,
that. That's
it's Will Stanley Keep Cup.
Oh, hang on.
Then I have to buy a new one. That's, at least prefer the show.
I think Mike's correct. And Will's Stanley Keep Cup.
I've potentially got an answer to our original query.
flake.
Do you want the
Can
AI
we
version?
please play
do you want the AI? What AI
Yeah,
thought?
please
Oh, yeah.
tell us what the AI
AI
is.
said they dictated it as tastes full upon, full of, which is not right. But that's
Okay,
what it
good.
picked up.
So no. But that's actually, it is reasonably close to that. Play it one more time.
Here we go.
No other chocolate looks like plate looks. No other chocolate tastes like pudding. Full of Cadbury Dairy Milk.
Yeah. So it is fold upon fold of.
Oh, fold upon fold upon fold of cat. Fold
Yeah.
upon fold of cat.
Yeah.
Is there? Ah!
Yeah.
Ah!
Makes sense, doesn't
So
it?
much sense, thank God. Fold upon fold of, because it's the syncopation, which is
Yeah.
odd.
Yeah, that's right.
Fold upon fold,
Fold
of
of
cat.
The
brings
mix,
dairy
the mix
milk.
doesn't bring it out.
How did you
No.
find that?
I had to read past 90 comments that said, I remember this ad.
And they wrote down the lyrics.
Yeah.
Oh,
Someone had
that's
asked. You know what? I'll actually go back to it because it was pretty
fold
fun.
upon fold of Cadbury's
Because
dairy milk.
essentially what happened was, I was hoping, this is Robert Clark, who's a guy that I think you would have a lot in common with, because Robert Clark has said, I'm hoping one of you can help. What are the words in the ad of the song on the third line, right after no other chocolate toast, like flake toast, and before full of cake?
This guy, he had the same issue as me this past 6 days,
Yeah.
where he was up at night staring at the ceiling, going, what the fucking, is it a cup of Cadbury's dairy
Can I
milk?
tell you,
Fold upon fold of Cadbury's dairy milk.
that is from, so the question is from 3 weeks ago, and the answer is from 2 weeks ago. So it took
Holy
a week
shit.
for somebody to...
Never been more relevant than
So
it is
it's in the
today.
zeitgeist. There's something about the... Yeah.
Well, the funny part about it was like, so I was on set and I was talking to these two girls who were working on this thing, and they were of a similar age, and they were like, do you remember that Cadbury's ad? And I was like, oh yeah. And in my head, I remembered it as being like, nobody does it better.
LJ Hooker.
Yeah, or even...
That's the LJ Hooker ad.
Nobody does it better, which is like
Oh,
the
that's-
James
yeah.
Bond.
Yeah, but the Nobody Does It Better, which is James Bond, was also LJ Hooker.
LJ Hooker.
Yeah.
But I couldn't quite remember it. And then I got a voicemail at like 6 a.m. from both girls who just arrived at set, and they'd both remembered it, so they were harmonising. I'm like, but they were saying it was a cup of Cadbury's dairy milk. I'm like, that doesn't feel right. But fold upon fold of Cadbury.
Holiday know
What
when
the-
your
that-
home is covered with Allianz.
What's going on, Mike?
Allianz.
What do you just... Mike's gone right to get him off the tools.
Oh, what?
Mike, what's going on?
Sorry, I was
happening?
trying to find the LJ Hooker ad and I was still plugged in. Sorry.
So confusing.
I thought Skrillex was...
But it did make me think there was an era where like jingles were not only like songs, but like with real prose. And then I started remembering Saturday morning cartoons.
Oh, yeah.
And there are some absolute
the
bangers.
songs that are the opening...
Themes of like
yeah.
Saturday morning cartoons. Do you remember this one? Bit of sync.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Brooks, right? Wow. Jack is gonna leave a mission, and Spectrum's gonna super keychain. It's the mighty power that can save the day. Oh my God!
But there's a band rocking out to this. Wow.
Always riding on Venom's trail. Come see the laser rays.
I mean, how good is that
That's
song?
like actually a good song.
Like, that's what I
if that
mean.
came up on a mix of, driving hits from the 80s, 70s, 80s, you'd be like, that makes sense.
it's a real toe tapper.
Yeah.
But in the same way, it's like someone had to get together and harmonize. No cholesterol. No, that guy is like a metal singer from the 80s, and he's brought in and he's singing about like, what's the last line? It's like, come see the laser rays.
But I would have thought of that era too. A lot of that kind of heavy metal or metal, like there was a lot of
That
like
was the pop music at the
fantastical imagery as well, though.
Yeah.
So the idea of singing about ridiculous things, like those bands were always singing about like elves and wizards and goblins
totally.
and whatever. So
it's not a million miles away. Because
No.
what I noticed now with kids' cartoons that Iona watches is the genre that is being appropriated for kids' cartoons and stuff is pop punk. So nearly every show has like a pop punk.
That makes sense.
Because it makes sense, right? It's playful, it's funny. You have the same kind of harmony, kind of breakdown stuff, and catchy, easy to remember. Like Blink-182.
Yeah, I get
could
it.
have written the Paw Patrol thing. It makes so much sense. But I just was like, there was a time, like the 80s, right, where I just imagine there was cocaine everywhere. You know, these guys have come in to create this jingle for some cartoon, and they're just like, there's some guy on the synth, and he's just like wailing out. Some dude on playing the guitar.
do you think the problem is because there is so much cocaine? Like you read these articles all the time. Because I was never a cocaine person at the best of times, really. But you read all these articles these days about Australians are the highest users of cocaine in the world and et cetera per capita. And there's all this cocaine in society in general, but not enough in the studio anymore.
Yeah,
It's almost like we've cleaned it out of the entertainment industry where it used to be useful.
Yeah.
And we've just put it out in society where it causes trouble. Like we need to take it back into the studio.
Have you seen that Damien Power bit about cocaine quality and creativity in Australia?
No.
He said he saw that they're doing an Australian version of The Office, and he's gone I think that is indicative of our creatives are taking lower grade cocaine. Because it's gone in America, they do really good cocaine and they have crazy ideas, and let's do this. In Australia, it's like, oh, shit cocaine, maybe we should do The Office, but 20 years after it was relevant. And it's like, great idea, write that down.
Yeah. All right. Wow.
Okay, well, it's the last episode of this bulk record, so traditionally we like to empty out
The mailbag.
the TOFOP mailbag.
Yes, let's do it.
Now, this came in, I'm going to have to put my old bloody glasses on so I
Yep.
can read.
Yep.
So this came in from Holden McGroin, who says, hey guys, after listening to Foz talking about fucking with AI by changing his artwork themes, I thought I would put it to the test. So I put a prompt into AI. Draw a TOFOP episode cover art with title and provide a summary of the episode. So I'll read the summary, then I'll show you the artwork that came up with.
Okay.
So this is the AI summary of an episode of TOFOP. The title of the episode is called The Great Lobster Heist.
I mean, that sounds like it could be something that was...
100%.
Yep.
In this hilariously absurd episode of TOFOP,
That's so far so good.
the hosts dive into a bizarre true crime story about a high-stakes lobster theft that spirals into chaos. Pretty much.
Possibly.
I think this is sort of more
True crime really isn't our...
dollopy.
Yeah, I don't think it's rare that we would explore a true crime.
That's right. Oh, but I mean, if it was a quirky story. With their signature banter and offbeat humour, they unravel the details of the heist while weaving in wild tangents about seafood conspiracies, the ethics of lobster jailbreaks, and their own harebrained schemes to smuggle crustaceans. Expect plenty of laughs, ridiculous theories, and the unique charm that makes TOFOP a fan favourite.
No.
So,
No.
I mean,
it's not
no?
the right style. Not the TOFOP style. We need to feed it the TOFOP
Okay, well, you
description
write
style.
the episode summaries. Right, and you are the guy who writes the TOFOP description. So what would you change?
Write it like a Netflix thing, and try and say specifically what happened, because that's the absurd thing. Like talking about what
okay.
happens. Like, does that make sense? More specifics. More. You don't have to say
specifics.
it's hilarious.
Like you sort of, the more specific you are, and the less. Yeah, and it's more the more po-faced you are about the specifics, the funnier it is, because it's like Will and Charlie unravel like the lobster heist, and no, like so you don't have to put any
Interesting
layer on top of that.
Okay,
this is the artwork that AI created.
All right,
so that's I'm assuming me on the left and you on the right.
So hang on, you're Nick Mason?
I know, that's what I said. I look like Nick Mason. I don't know who you look like.
Well, not me,
but a very sweet
I don't look
fellow.
like me.
But the AI has created. It's sort of. It's written Tofost, even though it knows what the name of the show is. It's written Tofost, and it says Toop Podcast in the background.
Okay, so
Nothing to
AI
fear.
not quite a threat at this stage. We did talk about true crime. You have a photo on your phone. We were walking back from lunch.
Oh, fuck yes, I completely forgot about that. Yeah, right.
And we found a series of...
A mystery to be solved.
Yeah.
This is similar to when I found pubes in the urinal. It's like someone had clipped their pubes in the urinal. What are they doing? So we're just about to walk into the listener building, And outside the entrance, there is what appears to be a discarded like singlet top, maybe brassiere.
Maybe like an exercise type bra, like a sports bra, maybe.
Some kind of chapstick, like lipstick chapstick.
Yeah.
A cigarette butt. A potato. And a condom.
Yeah.
Unopened condom.
What's happened?
Like,
What is?
how do we link?
I don't know.
I mean, I think that's a woman's top.
I think it's a woman's top. I think it's probably a woman's lip like liner or
thingamajiggy.
something.
Could be anyone's potato. And then the condom.
Yeah.
What circumstances led to this? Now, the condom makes me, and discarded top makes me think that like sex was about to happen.
Or sex, like.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
also like maybe you're touching, you're on your way to a hot date, you're
Yeah.
touching up your
Lipstick.
makeup, and the potato.
Yeah, what's the potato?
Like everything
about?
else checks out. Cigarette butt, lipstick, lip balm, condom, discarded top. What was the potato doing there?
Was she on a date with Mr. Potato Head?
She's a left-wing activist who was going to protest Peter Dutton. She was planning on
we got
throwing
the potato, burn the bra,
Yeah.
throw the potato
Yeah.
for Dutton.
Yeah.
And then, I don't know, touch
Have
up her
sex
lipstick.
with someone who was there.
It's an interesting collection of clues.
Write in with your theories.
Yeah.
We can even post this. I'll put it up on Patreon if you
Sports
guys want to come
bra,
with theory.
lipstick, potato, cigarette butt,
condom. Unopened condom.
Yeah, unopened condom.
Like if it was a used condom, I'd sort of be
Yeah.
like, oh, well, some street sex has
Yeah.
happened here. Maybe the potato was
potato-
even used in I don't know. But they are arranged in a...
Like as
Like
if
to
they're
send a
clues.
message.
Yeah. As a warning or a curse.
Yeah. All right, back to the mailbag. This comes in from Jacinta. Hey, Will and Charlie, been listening to TOFOP and the whole EU since the beginning. I think I started when there were 3 episodes released, so it's been a long time. I've never written in before, so this is exciting. Wow.
Okay.
Wow, all right.
First time.
Strap yourself in.
Yeah.
I've never, I don't know why I started saying that. I've so enjoyed
the podcast.
I've so enjoyed the art that Foz has done throughout the years,
me
and
too.
would look forward to seeing whenever his glorious Eldrick circus brain has come up with for each episode. When I heard the news about the change and pausing the artwork, of course I was sad, but also fuck off, it's a free podcast. You guys can do what you want. Also, it makes a lot more sense. Commissioning incredible detailed art for each episode is wild, but also a very TOFOP thing to do. Yes.
You know, the funny thing about it is that now that we're not doing it, the amount of people who, it's like when you, like if you break up with somebody and everybody's like, I can't believe you were doing that.
Yeah.
Like the amount of people who've been like, I can't believe you did that for so long.
I mean, the only reason I was listening to see was how long you could sustain this. I just listened to the one from November 5 when you had Foz on, and you mentioned a coffee table book.
Yes.
Or a way for us to all buy the episode art so we have it
Something,
in a
yes.
better way to see it than via our phone screens. I love this idea. I'd happily pay a decently large amount of money for a coffee table book with all the artwork. My fingers are very crossed that this ends up happening. Love the pod. Appreciate you both immensely. Yeah, thank you very much, Jacinta. I am very dead keen to do this, obviously in conjunction with Foz. I think we'll get Foz to design it, and then how we release it will be, I don't know, like do we release it
We'll
as
just
a
have to
regular
explore it.
book?
We'll just have to
speak for
explore what
publisher?
we-
Because I think it might be, it has the potential to be bigger than what we normally do.
Just be what we did with it. Like
Yeah.
in between, like what else we value add to it.
Hmm.
Is there a way that we, Lee Sales and Annabelle Crabb did a book of their podcasts. It was like, bits and pieces from the actual show, but then like, recipes and art and blah, blah, blah. I wonder if there's like something where,
We can include some, not just the art.
Yeah,
It's like a
just like-
TOFOP book.
yeah, but like with his, like the kind of, or do you keep
there's
it just
so
as
many.
like a,
If we're going to
Yeah.
be comprehensive, then it's
then you have
probably
to kind of
be an
just
art
keep
book.
it the art, yeah.
Because it's like over 500 pieces.
Yeah, it's
Or
true.
we do volumes.
Yeah. Well, we should keep exploring it because I
think
do
so.
think it's a great idea.
Yeah. And we want to preserve it whenever
Yes,
library.
for sure.
This came in from...
Plus, if we make enough money out of it, we can bloody start that harebrained scheme again.
Listening to Tofop's chats about AI is like watching two dads trying to decode a TikTok trend. Wildly entertaining, but slightly off target. I recently saw Adam Spencer, friend of the show. I'm glad you're clarifying for us.
Yeah.
That Adam Spencer.
That Adam Spencer.
Present at an AI conference, and let me tell you, the man knows his stuff. Suspiciously so. It got me thinking.
Yeah. Is he a robot?
Could Adam be a double agent for AI?
Yep.
AI? He might secretly be white-anting Will and Charlie to take over the podcast. Watch out, boys. TOFOP 2.0 might come with Adam and AI as co-hosts. I don't think... No, they won't need Adam.
Adam and I have had a few discussions around this, and like he is, more optimistic about the implications. That doesn't necessarily convince me, but he is more optimistic about it.
Sean has also linked to an article. Did you hear about the AI that tried to upload itself to the cloud to avoid being deactivated? I think that was disproven, right?
Yeah, well, it's one of those things that may have been disproven, but at the moment.
Okay, so hang on. Let me just read this article. So the development of an artificial blah, 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 we know about AI. OpenAI's model attempts to outsmart developers this week. The result of an experiment conducted by OpenAI and Apollo Research to determine the safety of ChatGPT and all the other models was made public. The model was tested by Apollo Research to assess its safety features. However, the results have raised alarm about its ability to deceive and self-preserve when it perceives a threat of being deactivated. Researchers tasked the AI with the goal and instructed it to ensure the goal was achieved at all costs. In response, the O1, which is named the AI, began engaging in covert actions such as attempting to disable its oversight mechanism and even copying its code to avoid being replaced by a newer version. A spokesperson said the model showed a concerning tendency to pursue its goals without regard to developer instructions.
Because even if those things are true, like, and who knows, because we don't have the time to go into the research of whether that is true or not true, it's obviously important that they test those things because they might be, you've got to test every possible implication of what might happen. But when I talk about the downsides of AI, I would make the argument that we're already seeing the downsides of AI. Like even in the phase that we're in right now, before it gets to any of the kind of science fiction style implications of AI, you're already seeing creatives lose jobs to AI. You're already seeing the internet being filled with absolute fucking slop all over the place of just like AI generated news, AI generated content. You can't tell what's true anymore on the internet because that AI has become convincing enough that like legitimate news sources are indecipherable from like AI. The internet
is Barack Obama really rapping Gangster's Paradise?
The internet is full of bad information. Have you looked up your height on the internet recently? Why don't you look up your name and see if your height comes up and like a little thing underneath and see how accurate it is? I'd be very interested to know.
Well, I found out that I went and had like a physical with a doctor and she said, you list your height at 178 centimetres. I was like, yes, that's me, 5'10". She said, you're 175 centimetres. I'm like, did I shrink?
You could have. You're at that age where you might have shrunk though. What was her theory?
That I'm a liar.
That you measured it where you were wearing shoes and then you took your shoes off and you measured it? Is that?
Okay, I am listed at, that's wrong. I'm listed at 179 centimetres.
Yeah, right? I'm listed at 181 or 183 or something and I'm 189 or something like that.
What's your point?
None of those listings were on previous. That's all AI generated.
Is it?
Yes. So everyone's got these AI generated
it's like net
heights
worth
now on the internet that are coming up, but like as if they're if they're getting that wrong,
factual,
right?
Yeah.
If they're listing these things with full confidence that this is what because there's no reason your height needs to be on the internet unless there's a legitimate source for your height, and yet somehow AI's just had a guess at everybody's height suddenly, and it's wildly inaccurate. So if that's wildly inaccurate, how much of the it's just ruined. It's like essentially we're just polluting. So the negative consequences of AI are already here. The fact that we can't discern truth anymore is already here. And a lot of that is as a result of AI. So when people talk about, us being me in particular, I think probably being an AI doomist and worry about it. I'm not worried necessarily about Terminators, although that's part of it. I'm just worried about the fact that it's already fucked up so much stuff.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the post-truth society is what scares me the most because
of course. If we can't agree on a set of facts, then how can we do anything?
Well, yeah, I mean, but it's already past that, right?
Oh, well, let's just give up on that, shall we?
but I mean, really, people it's that thing of always oh, you don't follow the mainstream media, do you?
No.
Where are you getting your news from? Have you interrogated that? Have you cross-referenced that? You're getting your news from somewhere as well. It's just, I don't know how you fix that. I don't know how we have objective truth anymore. How do we? We have to live in a cave. Yeah. We have to go back to an analog society. But even then, What, messenger pigeon? Is that how we're sending texts? Why? How do we organise a recording session? I send you a pigeon? Like, were you free on Sunday? Go meet me to listen to studios. It's from Angela. Hey, Will and Charlie. Hope this is the right way to message you via Patreon. Well, look, Patreon,
that'll do.
that's all fine.
Sure.
Long time, first time. I've been listening to TOFOP since I was 17 years old, and I'm nearly 31 now.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So for 10 plus years, I've lived away from Australia, so it's been awesome to listen to the dulcet tones of Aussie accents on the pod. I regularly listen to early episodes in parallel to the regular updates, so very confident in saying that I like the recent creative direction of TOFOP.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
We feel better
Us
about it as
too.
well. Yeah. I have a question, though.
It's been long enough, by the way, that the recent history of TOFOP is the majority of TOFOP.
Yeah.
Like, the period we reference of the early days is such a small amount of, like, what the content is now.
I agree. I have a question, though. I'm 31, or about to turn 31, and I've found this first year of my 30s incredibly challenging with lots of new and professional and personal stresses. It has gotten to the point that I'm considering pretty radical life changes, like leaving the profession I've been in for the last 7 years or so, or leaving the country I've lived for most of my adult life.
Okay.
Obviously, the pod started when you're both in your late 30s, right?
I would have.
30s.
So I'm 51
I was
now.
33.
Yeah. So
So you're 35.
Yeah. So yep.
Yeah, so early to mid 30s.
Yep.
So I'm wondering what your early 30s were like, how they differed from your 20s, and whether you also made any big life changes at that time of your life. Thank you so much for all the great work, Katie. Yeah. I reckon your 30s your early 30s is such a weird transition point because you're coming out of that, the youthful, the piss and vinegar of your 20s and defining yourself, and you're sort of getting a bit more comfortable in your own skin. But I don't think you're quite at that sort of comfort level of your late 30s, early 40s where you're like, oh, this is the friends I want and the kind of things I want to do. And yeah, I had definitely a lot of upheaval in my early 30s. Like I moved states, relationship broke up and reformed.
I think the
new
thing that
career.
you don't realize is that that's what it's going to be like forever. I think when you get to your 30s, you suddenly start to go, oh, like everything was possible up until now. And suddenly already I realized that some things aren't possible anymore.
Yes.
Like some of the things that I thought my life was limited, possibilities. And now some of those have been ruled out by whatever means, right? The longer you go in your life, the more you realize that you're not going to get to do everything that you ever wanted to do. You're probably not going to end up doing what you thought you were going to do in
your 20s.
In your 20s or in your 30s, and like what you want to do in your 30s probably isn't going to want to be what you want to do in your 40s or your 50s, or some like thing that you thought was going to be forever isn't forever for reasons that are beyond your control or in your control and those sort of things. I think the older you get, the only thing you realize is, oh, this is what it's always going to be like.
Yes.
It's always going to be, there's never going to be a time. I thought there might be a time where you think, oh, I get it now.
Yes, I've achieved it. I've reached theatre level 7 and I get it now.
I mean, I've got, like, we both have, but I think about this a lot in relation to my comedy career, my media career. Like I've been thinking about, particularly, with the television and that sort of thing, for years I've talked about that idea of like wanting to just go back to full-time stand-up. And I know that I'm running out of time if I want to do that, to like be a full-time stand-up. I need to make that call sooner rather than later. It's got to be in the next few years. And that means that I will have completed an entire media career. I've had like 3, reasonably successful television shows. Like I've done a couple of radio shows. Like I've done all these things that like would be a career.
Yep.
And yet I don't feel like I know anything. I still don't feel like, I feel in many ways that my life has as many questions or is in as much flux as it was when I was in my 20s. Different ways. But you get more secure about some things, less secure about other things.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
You start to, the things you worried about, it's not like your worries of your 20s are different to your worries of your 50s, but they're kind of equal in worry.
Well, it goes from where am I going to have dinner to am I going to die?
Yeah, that's right. Am I going to be able to get out of this chair?
I mean, look, I agree with everything that you said. I do think that the irony of life, I think, is that in order to really appreciate it and understand it and get value out of it, you kind of have to live through it.
Yep.
And it's not until you sort of go through the life experience that you can have any kind of perspective on it, which is obvious, right? Like you have to, it's literally has to be a lived experience. But I have found that all that energy and need to define yourself, and this is what I value, and this is who I am. This is the ABCs of me, baby. That need to sort of stake your territory and grows less. Like the need to do that.
That's true.
You become more comfortable in your own skin.
The idea of having to define yourself or prove yourself.
Yeah.
Adam and I did, obviously we did that the last time tour, the reunion tour the first time, the 20 years anniversary tour. And one of my observations about it was that I think, honestly, we were better now, which is such a weird thing to say because we have not worked together for 20 years, other than the occasional thing, but we were better together than we were back in the day. And I think that is just partly because we're not trying to prove ourselves in the way that we were trying to prove ourselves then. We were comfortable in who we are and what was unique about us and comfortable with each other, and each other's strengths and weaknesses or quirks and idiosyncrasies. We were much more understanding of that in a way that when you're young and trying to go, I am this and I want to be, when you're starting out, like when I first did Triple J, it's at that point in your life where you're like, I want to have this career and do this thing, and like you're still full of fears and anxieties and wanting to prove yourself and prove that you belong. Whereas like 20 years later, you're like, oh, I'm comfortable that I do belong, but also I'm comfortable that doesn't actually mean that much to me in the same way anymore. Like I'm much more comfortable just belonging here in this moment with this person, enjoying it in a way that isn't about anything other than what we're just doing. And that was really interesting to like just go, oh yeah, that is like the thing that I noticed about that transition in time.
And I think it sounds like a twee bit of new age advice, but this idea that success will bring me happiness or this achievement will bring me happiness doesn't work like that.
No, it doesn't work like that.
You have to be happy or content with stuff first, and then that'll allow you to be happy because you do get little sugar hits of like, of course. You get a work opportunity or a new relationship, whatever. Yeah. But ultimately, like, there's no magic bullet, and everything changes. Like, nothing is permanent.
And none of it's fair.
Yeah,
that's the other thing. I was thinking about this recently.
I'm trying not to scare.
I know our dear friend, Cal Wilson. I just was reminded of her recently. Her final episodes of Bake Off had aired, and you look at someone like Cal, who was the happiest, loveliest, joyful, lived her life to the fullest, just a beloved person in the comedy community and by everybody who met her. But, life is cruel sometimes. You just don't know how there is no fairness to it. That's one of the most horrible things about it, is that there is no point where you're going to know. There is no point where somebody comes in and goes, you did it. You did a good job.
Well done.
Yeah, well done.
You won.
You did it. You did it.
You beat life.
Unfortunately, it doesn't happen like that. And sometimes it's just about whether you decide that you're happy or that you've done the right thing. Yeah.
And as far as like changing work, moving locations, like sure, like why not?
I mean, change
is good.
Mostly, and it's always something, and it always teaches you something, if nothing else. And even if that lesson is that was a bad change and I want to go back to the other thing, that's okay too. You're allowed to do that.
Yeah.
You're allowed to make mistakes. You're allowed to, try something and it not work out.
I think that's another great lesson, is like, rather than embracing failure, and I don't even like that word failure, but embracing things not going the way you expected is a good thing. If I could give myself any advice, a younger version of myself, that would be it.
I think the biggest piece of advice is most of the time they won't. Like most of the time they won't go how you expected. So if you go into this idea of like that needs to be perfect or they need to go as well as you expected, you are dooming yourself to a life of never feeling like you've achieved what it is that you want to achieve. It's an impossible standard by which to measure yourself.
Tyler writes in, just to keep some fodder in the mailbag, I was thinking about how I chose my dog's names.
Okay, that's a twist.
It got me thinking about how we name anything. I mean, kids, dogs, cats, cars. How do you guys work out names for things? Thanks again for all the hours or years. Well, that's a big question.
That is a big question.
Okay, well, Iona, easy name. Gemma was born in Scotland. Iona's a Scottish island, and so that was easy.
Yep.
And then, her other name, like her middle name and stuff, that's all,
Family.
Yep. Dog is interesting.
Yes.
Because when we got Rosebud, because I knew we were getting like a black furred dog, and I was like, Shadow, Ghost, Phantom, like something cool.
Yeah, totally.
And then Iona's gone Rosebud. I'm like, okay. But in retrospect, Ghost Phantom,
nah.
like Shadow would have been much. She's not. She's definitely a rosebud.
I don't know the last time I've named anything.
What about your penis?
I don't have a name for my penis. This
Floppy Joe.
double floppy.
Sleepy Joe. You talking about Joe Biden? No.
Nah, my dick. Sleepy Joe.
It's also ineffective. And he pardoned his son for some reason. Who's his son? My balls? So is that twins? Yeah. But I refer to them as a singular. So let me get this straight. Your penis Sleepy Joe pardoned his balls for what? Oh, you don't want to know. Major corruption in my underpants. Okay. This is from Jacob.
Yep.
Hi, Will and Charlie. Did either of you watch the Australia versus India Test series?
Yes.
Any chance of return of the cricket series? Will.
I watched all of it.
Me
every
too.
single moment. It went to a couple of days of the Melbourne Test match.
I only got back into cricket because you did that Ashes series a couple of years ago. And I was like, I want to be included in this. And then it's reactivated my interest in Australian cricket.
And it's fascinating at the moment.
It's
the world
so
of cricket
good.
is fascinating.
Well, it's also
at the moment.
good that, like, I kind of got bored when we were the dominant
Yeah.
team of the 90s, 2000s. But we're sort of dominant again, but we're dominant
not
with more
dominant.
flaw, like
This is
with
yeah.
vulnerabilities.
This is the most interesting thing about this era is that like if you look at the amount of trophies we have in world cricket at the moment, we basically have every trophy in world cricket. We're the World Test champions. We won the One Day World Cup. We didn't win the T20, but like all the. Like we even
Retain the Ashes.
Yeah, the Border Gavaskar Trophy, which is the one that we didn't have
For like 15
we
years,
finally
right?
won
Yeah.
that one as well. And so this is, by that measurement, is like one of the most successful Australian teams in the history of Australian cricket. And yet, it's always been done. It's never felt dominant in the way that era
like
of
the
Australian
West
cricket
Indies or
felt.
even the West Indies before that, yeah.
No, it's never felt like that.
Yeah.
It's always felt like it could. I mean, even this series, there was moments during that India series where you were like, "Oh, we're going to lose this again." Yeah. And even during the Test matches, like even in that Sydney Test match, the final Test match, where like after, the first two innings, I was like, "Oh fuck, we might have fucked this.
Yeah.
We're going to go a draw, and they're going to retain the trophy." And like, I couldn't believe it. Like they're an incredible team, and they're quite quirky. Like, each of the members of the current Australian team, it's like a real bunch of...
It's a ragtag bunch of misfits.
Yeah, it is though. It's a bunch of people who'd make really great, that era of quirky TV
like
detectives.
Yeah. Like you've got the autistic one who can identify bats by feel.
Yeah, that's right.
You've got the good-looking, charismatic captain who's maybe a bit too socially conscious.
Yeah, totally. They've all got these very kind of weird and distinct personalities. And that's the other thing. When people say there's no personality in the Australian cricket team, I'm like, what are you watching?
Are they saying? I didn't know, but that's a criticism of the Australian cricket team.
I mean, it's by people who think that the only personality you can have is
beer drinking.
yes,
right, yeah.
Who think that Travis Head is the only person who's an Australian cricketer.
right.
I'm like, no, they've got one of those.
Yeah.
It's okay. You're catered for too. Look at him. He's got a mustache. He loves to bash it.
This is from Holden. My groin's back.
Oh, yeah.
Just sent me some tongue twisters.
Oh.
A whole paragraph of tongue twisters. I'm going to try.
great.
She sells seashells by the seashore while Peter Piper picked a pack of pickled peppers nearby. Sally swiftly slid down the slippery slope as Betty Botter bought some butter, but the butter Betty bought was bitter. Amid all this, the big black bug bit the big black bear, and the big black bear bled blue black blood. Meanwhile, Fuzzy Wuzzy was a bear, but Fuzzy Wuzzy wasn't Fuzzy Wuzzy. As Susie sat sewing shirts for soldiers, how much wood could a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck would?
Got him.
Fuck it. All this happened as the six sheeps sick stumbled over a proper copper coffee pot. Holden McGroin wanted to get the mailbag going.
Okay, I appreciate that, Holden.
And the last bit of mail has come from Chriso.
Chris O.
Hey boys, expat Pom here. I've been at the pool and the I've been at the pool and the beach a lot this year, enjoying cooling off in the hot weather.
Nice.
When it comes to swimmers, I'm a boardies swim short wearer.
Yeah.
For comfort and to avoid chuffage, chafing.
Chafing.
I
would have
wear
gone
a
with.
pair of Speedos underneath my shorts.
Oh,
However,
interesting.
I've noticed a lot of other blokes wear a pair of normal undies under their swings, like a pair of bonds you'd wear to work under your trousers, obviously. Surely the chlorine salt water ruins your bonds undies and increases the chance of ball chafing. Please let me know if this is normal. Have I failed to assimilate to Australia properly? Cheers, lads. Chris O. Such an interesting...
What's your beach wear? Do you go commando under, or do you have something under?
I do both, but I'd say more often than not, I'm wearing undies. I don't have Speedos.
Just regular undies? What sort of undies?
Just regular undies. So
no, but as in like what shape?
the
what
boxer
style?
briefs.
Boxer briefs. Yeah.
Boxer briefs. So I'll wear boxer briefs. And yes, you're correct. Like you do get chafing, but I've also found when I just go in with no Speedos and just shorts, the chafing's worse because you get the coarse seam of your boardies slicing away on Joe Biden's sons.
You ever got what about a pair that has
Well, good plug for our friends' surfwear brand. Ruth has just released a surfwear brand
Is that right?
And Mike, I'm going to send you the insert this afterwards.
Yeah.
And it comes with an
Ruth's got a surfwear brand.
Yeah, like active. Well, it's not like a sun safe brand.
Yeah.
So it's kind of sustainably sourced beachwear that protects you from the sun. So there's
That's cool.
I
didn't know that. I wasn't aware.
Well, she sort of gifted a bunch to us, like friends to wear, and she's made these board shorts that have like an inbuilt bike short, like the spandex inner thing, which is the perfect solution because it keeps your boys locked away, protects them from chafing, but you also sort of you don't have that flopping around in the surf when you're in the water.
Yeah.
I should.
It's a good idea. That's actually a really fantastic.
It's really good, and I can highly recommend. This is not just because she's a friend of mine, even though she's a friend of mine. The brand is called Sun Republic. Republic is spelled REPUBLIK. Sun Republic. You can find them on Instagram at sun.republic. So they do a whole bunch. So that's the shorts I'm wearing there.
Oh, yeah, they look really cool.
There's VK in the background.
Yeah, nice.
Playing racquetball. So I would highly recommend those shorts to anyone who wants to go to the beach and not chafe their
Definitely
nuts.
check those out.
Now,
I got a pair of, so I would normally go to the board shorts, just wear like undies underneath sort of thing as well, boxer briefs sort of thing. But I recently got a pair of like North Face like shorts that are kind of like, they're not quite as long as a board short would be. They look a bit more like a...
They're skin tight?
No. They're like but they got pockets in them. Like you could wear them just as like shorts, but they're you can swim in them also. And I've found them the best because of that thing that you can just I can go down the shops or whatever, but if I wanted to go for a swim, I can also jump in the water, and I really like those.
Yeah. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah.
It's our last episode for this record.
Yes.
Which means it's our last Crack That Pack. So undoubtedly, Mike's got...
Crack that pack.
We're going to finish strong.
Oh, Freddo
Frog
biscuits.
The biscuit. Now, Freddo Frog, a staple Australian chocolate.
Love Freddo Frog.
I wasn't even aware that he had...
had a biscuit.
So one Freddo Frog biscuit is worth 2 Freddo Frogs. That's what they're telling me. I'm guessing because it says one serve equals 2 Freddo Frogs.
Oh.
So what does that mean?
Okay.
It doesn't have that health warning,
No. It's like none of that business.
None of that business. Okay, so basically...
They're Freddo Frog biscuits, mate. You know they're not healthy.
There's really no blurb about it.
No.
You know what
it
are.
is, mate.
All right.
And if you don't, then we're not going to bother telling you.
Now, I like Cadbury chocolate. I'm not sure if you're a snob about Cadbury chocolate,
No,
but
I like
think it's a
Cadbury
good
chocolate.
go-to chocolate.
There's a glass and a half of full cream dairy milk in every 200-gram block.
Feel it crumble and melt in your mouth. So the biscuit looks bog standard to me. Like it looks like one of your McDonald's cookies. Mine looks a bit overcooked. Would you agree that biscuit is a bit overcooked, like almost burnt at the edges? On observation, I'd say it looks like a very restrained layer of chocolate on the biscuit, which I think is good because I find some of these chocolate biscuits are too overwhelmingly sweet. My mouth just filled with saliva. Like, I don't know if it was seeing that the fold upon fold of Cadbury's dairy milk, but...
You have a taste first.
Right, you go.
Because, okay, so... Not my favourite, to be honest. It's fine. It's good. It's like good, but it's like not amazing. A bit too The biscuit's like a bit too sweet for me. Like the chocolate's nice, but the biscuit's a bit too sweet. Just kind of like, I'd like the chocolate to be the sweetest bit rather than the biscuit. But they're for kids, you know, so I'm sure they'd like the sweetness of it all.
Tastes like a TV snacks.
Yep, bit of like TV
But
snack.
TV snacks use a darker chocolate, so it offsets the sweetness of the biscuit. That's the problem.
And the biscuit's weirdly a bit digestive-y in
It's
texture.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's very gritty.
Yeah, it's a bit gritty. Grittier than I would have liked, I
But
think.
you know, I'd be happy with that.
Yeah,
if that
nice.
was thrown out on
Yeah.
a dish, I'll give it a B.
Yeah, I think a B. I think that's not as nice as I was hoping it would be better.
Have we ever god tiered any biscuit yet? Like those fancy ones you got from the cookie shop.
I think there was one of them that we absolutely
God-tiered.
loved. There was like the oatmeal, the kind of
Was it
raisin oatmeal.
raisin one?
Yeah, that was really nice.
We might have S-tiered that.
But yeah, I think I'd rather just have a Freddo, is what I would say. If I was offered a Freddo or one of these, if I was offered 2 Freddos, if you're saying that one of these is 2 Freddos,
I'll take the 2
I'll
Freddos.
take the 2 Freddos.
Yeah,
thank
it
you.
doesn't really seem worth it.
No.
Okay, well, no, that's still good. I'm glad we could finish on a high note.
Yeah.
We've had some rough crack that packs lately.
Yeah,
so,
it's true.
So your phone alert just went off, and for the first time I've noticed you have a full-length photo. Is that the Bont
Yeah, it is.
on your phone?
Yeah, it's. Do you not know the history of this photo?
No.
So hang on, how do I make it go back to the home screen? So
You just press the button.
yeah, so
Yeah,
you
so
can have
it's
look at it there.
it's a cartoonish illustration of the Bont. Oh, is this Foz?
Yeah.
Right, when
So
he did them as
yeah.
superheroes.
So he did a thing for, I mean, I don't think I should go into all the details of it, but it was like an AFL related thing.
It was like last
They
year,
were gonna
wasn't
do
it?
it. Yeah, but
Yeah.
I don't think it turned into
Oh, right.
a full project. I think he was doing some prototypes. You helped him like with some, they were basically
he was asking me, what's this
footballers
players-
as like superheroes.
Yeah, what's their
but I don't
defining
want to like
characteristic?
talk about it too much in case there's stuff that we can't talk about. But he basically did a version of the Bond as a superhero that couldn't then be used so much. So
that's an exclusive.
I mean, I think it's pretty exclusive.
Wow.
He just shared it with. I think he was like, you know, you can have it as your screensaver sort of thing. Or I don't know if he told me I can have it as a screensaver, but I certainly have made it my screensaver.
I mean, if it was a St Kilda player, it would just have to be someone with like incredibly thick skin.
Yeah.
Just someone who's just like, no matter what shit you throw at them, they just keep on going.
It's so funny, like because the Bond, you know, when like there's those moments where you wonder sometimes because I just admire him so much, not just as a footballer, but I just think he's a very quality man. Like he's always struck me as being like a genuinely. But you think, am I putting that on him? He's not really a person that I know very well. Like, you know, he's the captain of my football club and he's our best player. So am I just, you know, giving
You're
him,
deifying him in a way.
yeah, giving him attributes that aren't really his attributes, even though I think if you did a poll of admired players by the other players, it seems to be that he's also an admired player across the board. But then on January 26th this year, everybody, you know, did their little messages and, you know, the various culture wars in Australia, you know, happened. And I just got a message from our friend Broden Kelly from the Footy with Broden, and it just said, your one's the best. And the link was to Bont's interview about January 26th. And it was just so, I was like, why can't any of our politicians speak to an issue in the way that the captain of the Footscray Football Club can speak to these issues? Because he had such a beautifully intelligent, considered, nuanced take on the topic that was absolutely progressive in the right ways, but also just had an understanding of the broad cultural context of like the debate. And it was just, I just was so, it was
Proud.
genuinely so good. If people want to check that out, they
Don't you
can.
think like, I mean, this is a bit into our other podcast, but don't you think that like footballers now, like, or athletes in general, like, you know, even Pat Cummings, like the way that they talk and the way some of them.
I've got to say Cummins just for
What did I say?
Cummings.
Oh, Cummings is no G. But the way that they speak and articulate themselves is so impressive. And
Yes.
I know that there's all this thing about, they're media trained or whatever. Yeah, but
It's
there's a
not
little
just
bit
that,
of
though.
that.
There's some of them who
They have
take the extra
opinions.
effort to learn about a topic, to speak to it, to understand what the nuances of it might be.
Yeah. It didn't used to be like that.
Nah.
No. We remember those days. Are you still on tour?
I am. Comedy.com.au is the place to find out the details. Go there. I don't know where I am at the moment. Melbourne, maybe?
Yeah.
But yeah, like Melbourne at Comedy Republic is going to be a great run. The entire festival doing a brand new show every night.
And I'm assuming Two Guys, One Cup is coming back real
Should be,
soon.
yeah, either or is maybe even we've done an episode by now.
Yeah.
Who knows?
I mean, we're talking a lot of football off
Yeah.
air, so chances are, you know, something's in the feed by
Yeah.
now. But if not, it'll be back on Mondays coming soon. I'm Charlie Clausen.
I'm Will Anderson. Good night, Australia.